Hey everyone, this is Azure, and I'm going to put together a quick tutorial on some basics for Alchemy and Atelier Sophie. I get asked these questions a lot. I'm not very good at making these tutorial videos, but we're going to give it a shot because it's been asked multiple times how the Alchemy system works while I've been streaming the game. So just going to put some of this stuff together. This is going to be probably the first of numerous Alchemy related videos, but we're going to try this one first, and this is just going to cover the very basics to get you guys started on the Alchemy system, because there's a lot of stuff going on and it's not very well explained at all in the tutorials. So hopefully I can clear some things up and at least get you started to where you're not completely confused with Alchemy. So bear with me. I'm not very good at making these kind of videos. As you can see, I'm already making up words. So let's see how this goes, and hopefully you'll find this video useful. So I'm going to refer to the screen in three parts: left, middle, and right. I'm pretty sure you can figure out what that means. So for this little tutorial, we're going to be making just a bomb. It's a really early recipe, so it's not a very complicated recipe, but it's going to work for what I want to show today. So first off, we need to choose materials. I'm going to go into detail in a different video what materials you should choose and how you can use materials to your advantage. But for now, we're going to keep things kind of simple. But I do want you guys to be aware of one feature that I'm just going to go ahead and point out now, because I didn't discover it until way late into the game. So if you press triangle to go into the sub menu here, you can get this filter option and this sort option. These are very useful, as they'll let you do things like sort by category value to see which things give you the highest bonuses, by quality, things like that. And then by filter, this is what I mostly use it for, is coming in here and determining traits. And this all stuff is a little bit more advanced, but we'll get into that in a later video. But I do want you to know that this is here, because I did not know it was there for the longest time, and it's a very useful tool. So let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to pick some materials here. It's not going to matter too much. So the important thing to note here is this number. This is going to be the thing that matters the most to you when you're first starting Alchemy, is the number assigned to the material. So you can see these are 13s, and we've got some 12s and some 11s. This is how much is going to go into the category that you'll see in the right-hand window. So basically that's your starting value. So the higher you get that, the easier it is to max it out. So let's go ahead and we're just going to grab a couple of these. And these are some materials you probably won't have yet, but we're going to use some anyway, just for the sake of explanation. But I do want to point out one other thing that's really important. Important. Yeah, see, told you I was going to make up words. Let's just roll with it. Important is the colors. So the first material we chose here, these are red. You can tell by, in the middle section, you'll see a little red icon there. You can tell by the numbers. I mean, there's other ways to tell, but you get see what I'm getting at here, and you can see it on the right-hand side there, the color. So the color is going to be very important, and I'll explain why that's important in a little bit. But for general crafts, for general recipes, ideally, you want everything to be the same color, and I'll explain why. So I'm just going to grab this, and we're going to grab some paper here. Just all reds. That's what we're doing here. All reds. We want everything to be red. I'm going to explain why very soon. So let's grab these materials, throw these together. You can see what we're starting with on the right side. If you're not far in the game, you won't see a number for quality. You'll see text, but you get the idea. It's just a thing. It's actually exactly the same. It doesn't matter. Well, let's go into synthesize and let's get started here. So if you're at the beginning of the game, you're going to have very few things. Like, you'll see I've got all these cauldrons here, and we'll get to that in a later video again. But for this video, I'm going to use this Grandma's Cauldron, which is one of the first ones you'll get. It's not the most useful one you'll get early, but we're going to use this one just for the sake of the explanation, keeping it simple. Now, I'm going to go ahead and point this out now. Something you're going to want to be aware of is every cauldron has differences. So on this page, if I press square to see cauldron details, you can see what's going on with the cauldron and if there's any bonuses. These bonuses are going to be extremely important, because this is going to determine how you use the cauldron. And again, we're going to save that for a later video, because each cauldron has to be used differently. But we're going to do Grandma's Cauldron for now, just to start things off. And you can see performing synthesis at quality value 0 won't result in failure and produce the desired item. So what this is potentially useful for is if you want to craft something that's a much higher alchemy level than your current level. You can use this to ensure that it won't fail even if the quality is bad. Low quality items will fail if they're not high enough quality and you get failure ash. So let's just go ahead and do this. You can see that my panel is 5x5, yours may not be, but that has to do with cauldron crafting, and that's a whole different thing. So let's start. Let's explain some of the basics of the alchemy system. So you've got this grid here. Things to note about the grid: we've got the percentages at the top. We'll go into that in a little bit. And then we've got squares. Plenty of squares and glowing lights. Bonus lights. So the things that matter here are the color of the squares and the bonus lights. The colors do matter. Keep that in mind. The colors are very important, and I'll explain why. Basically, what you'll want to do for colors is, if you have something red, the ideal thing to do is place it in red blocks. By placing it in red blocks, the bonuses that you get from using it on top of a bonus sphere like this one here is a higher increase. So if I do this, we have 33. However, if I take it and move it down here, we have 29. There's a bonus sphere there, but it's since it's not red, we get less of a bonus from it. And that can be exaggerated by certain cauldron effects as well. Certain cauldrons, such as the practice cauldron, which is the cauldron you'll probably use for the majority of the game, increases synergy bonus, which is the result of putting the same color item in the same color block. But let's talk about the bonuses and how these work, and just go over some real quick basics here. So the way it works is, whenever you place an item, everything adjacent to that item will gain a bonus if it doesn't have one, or it will go up once in bonus level. And there are 3 bonus levels. So we're going to use this blue one down here that you can see right below the red I've placed in order to demonstrate this. So if I back out, there's a small light there. Now if I place this here, the light gets slightly bigger, and of course, as you can see, the places around it, they gained bonuses when they didn't have them previously. So why this is important is because this is the biggest part of the alchemy, is you want to take advantage of these bonuses. You want to create bonuses, and you want to use bonuses. That's going to be the most important thing, because that's how you're going to get to the higher values. So let's take, for example, we look at our stuff here on the right side, and you'll see we have certain things are higher than others. So certain things are going to be harder to max out than others. For example, this is at 40 out of 100, and you got 18 out of 30, 26 out of 40. You can see how some of these are going to be harder to get that value. And I want to point out this material at the end here has no trait associated with it. I call these kind of throwaway materials, and that doesn't mean they're not important. So this is a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now. These materials that don't have a trait tied to them, or a effect, sorry, it's an effect, not a trait. There's a difference tied to them. I typically will use these to increase bonuses. For example, I'll place this, let's say, here. So I place that there. It doesn't have a bearing in this situation on increasing an effect immediately, but it increases the bonus of things around it. So now that I've done that, I can take something like this and get a better bonus from it. See, now we're up at 45, where without that, we would have been down at 33. So we're going to use that, something like that, in order to increase the bonus and get more out of what we're crafting here. And you can do that, basically, you'll want to just position things to where you're getting bonus lights of the color you want, and you're taking advantage of them. That's the biggest thing in alchemy, is positioning things to take advantage of the bonuses. Create bonuses, and then use the bonuses. So again, we can place this here, and you'll see it increase the bonuses of those around it. And then we can do something like placing this here, and we'll get a big bonus there because we get a lot of that covered. And we could not fit this here because this cauldron doesn't have rotate, and I'm used to rotate. It's a property that some cauldrons can have. But this is actually a good chance to talk about overlapping and things like that. Now that we've got the bonuses explained in short, let's talk about overlapping. So let's look at the percentage at the top. You'll see we're at 68%. This percentage is going to be very important because it's going to determine at the end of the synth how much extra increase we get on those colors. So you'll see if I overlap, we're going to reduce that percentage because we've taken it off the board. And you can see there the percentage we get at the end, which increases everything by that percent. It will take the highest percent of the ones at top. That's the color that will get the bonus. That's something to keep in mind. If they're all even, they'll all get a bonus and increase by that percentage. So ideally, overlaps are not particularly ideal. You can use overlaps to your benefit, and that's a bit more advanced, but for basic synthesis, you want to try and avoid overlaps. So if you have an overlap, maybe consider putting in a different material, a different size material, and you can just press L1 right here to do replace material and find yourself a different material. So we've got some different stuff here. I don't think I have anything that's going to fit immediately here unless I've got a 2 block. Yeah, we got a 2 block right here. So we can grab this and put this here, and now we have no overlap. So we get that full 76%. Now this still isn't an ideal craft, right? We don't have defense down maxed. So here's what we're going to do to try and demonstrate this. We're going to try and max out that defense down. So once I find out, I'll generally put my stuff down and see where I stand. And I'll say, okay, so my defense down is short. How can I get my defense down higher? So what we want to see is which material is related to defense down. This one. Okay, so if that's what we have related to defense down, we want to try and increase how much we get out of it. So we want to increase bonus lights. So previously I had placed defense down here, and I'd placed this red uni here. We're going to try reversing this now in order to increase the bonus, because by placing the red uni first, I've now increased the bonus of these 2 slots up here. So then I can place this and get a higher defense down. So now if we place the materials again, we'll see that this is shifted. Again, still have some work to do clearly in order to get everything maxed, but you can see by shifting the bonus, we've made the 3rd property maxed, but we have sacrificed some on the 2nd. You'll do this a lot. You'll be shifting things around in order to max things out. So the order matters. The order in which you place things is very, very important. So let's see how we can make this better. That's what we want to try and do, right? We want to try and max out everything. So we've got some really big materials here, like size-wise. You probably won't be using materials this big. They can be very inconvenient. But we're gonna try doing this. I'm gonna try something a little different here. We're gonna place that there to increase that bonus. We're actually gonna do an overlap. I'm gonna sacrifice those 2 in order to overlap this. Now, the reason you would consider doing this is because by doing that, we've now increased the adjacent bonus twice. So now it's a much higher bonus. We're only at 68%, but by sacrificing that, we were able to get those 2 up higher. Now we are missing out on this, unfortunately, because we don't have the percentage to meet it. So you're gonna be messing with this a lot. You're gonna spend a lot of time adjusting these things and trying to find the right combination. So we're gonna try adjusting this slightly again. In fact, what we're gonna try doing this time, let's see what we can do. So we want to adjust our bonus lights. Lights? I guess they're lights. They're like lights. We'll go with lights to where we're getting the most out of this stuff. So if we're going to place that there, let's see what we can do here. Now again, you may have to adjust materials, but you'll spend a lot of time playing around with this. Spend some time poking around at it, adjusting this stuff, and seeing what you can do with it, because it's really going to matter. So we can only shift to a 3, which is not super beneficial to us. So let's try something slightly different. We're going to place this here in order to increase the bonus here. Then we can place this here and place this here. Now I think we're going to be short in a category again. Okay, so we are still short in that first category, But we've gotten closer. We've gotten closer. So what happens if we shift this over a little bit? That way we're getting 2 bonus spheres up there because it's adjacent sphere. Adjacent blocks will get the bonus. So we've increased it by 2 since we moved it over 1. Now that blue block over there has a bonus in it, which is not as good as a red block, but it still gives us something. So let's try placing that there, placing that there, and placing that there again. So 76. So we're short on inflict burns, unfortunately. So we may need to consider completely reorganizing this in order to get the bonuses that you want. And not really going to go into that for the tutorial because we're just doing this to explain the systems. But you can kind of see the idea that you're going for here. The order matters in the way that you place these things, and you'll want to place them so that you can get these values as high as possible. Now, just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to go ahead and replace this with this color. So, this is the throwaway material again. So if we place this, you'll see it still affects the bonuses around it in the same way. But the reason you don't want to try and use something a different color, if possible, the reason you want them all the same color, is you'll see at the top now we have 12% dedicated to green. That means we've lowered the percentage that could potentially be red. So that's going to shorten our bonus at the end. So then we won't get as big of a bonus. It may be harder to meet some of our requirements that we want here to max out these traits. So you get the concept here. That's pretty much the basics. I know it's very, very rough and very... you have to play around with this system quite a bit to understand it, but hopefully this has helped you kind of understand the purpose of the bonuses, how the bonuses work, and how you can use them. Again, this is just supposed to be very, very basic. I'll go in detail on some future videos, much more detail, and show you some tricks that you can do in order to get very high bonuses and stuff like that. But for now, hopefully these basics will get you started. So the important thing to remember is the order matters, and the goal is to take advantage of bonuses. You want to take advantage of as many bonuses as you can and try and use that to your advantage in order to get your values their highest. The more advantage you take of your bonuses, the easier it is to get the higher bonuses. And that's pretty much all there is to the basics of alchemy. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better than the tutorial does. I know the tutorial is a little bit confusing. And hopefully this will help you get started on alchemy, but play around with it. Be willing to spend a lot of time with one recipe just trying to get the bonuses right. Because a lot of times just changing the order you do things can drastically affect the end result. Changing the order, changing the materials you use, all of these things can have a very, very drastic effect, which is important to remember. So, keep that in mind and try and just play around with the system a whole bunch. It took me a long time to figure out this system, and I can still make improvements, and I still learn new tricks the more I play. So, don't be afraid to just break things, so to speak. I mean, as you can see there, we got some values some higher just by that shift. Just by that one little change, you can see that the values changed. And the more complex the recipe, the higher grade the materials, the bigger these tiny shifts, the bigger effect these tiny shifts can have. So play around with things and try and just take advantage of bonuses. That's the best thing I can pass on from this. Take advantage of bonuses, use those percentages at the top to get as high as possible, to get as much at the end as you can. And that pretty much sums it up. So that's it. That's what I've got for this tutorial. I hope it helped you guys out. If it did help you out, remember to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Drop by on Twitch if you have any questions when I'm live. And just ask, and hopefully I'll be able to help you out. So, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this wasn't too bad. I'm not very good at these videos, like I said before. Not my specialty. But hopefully it works. So, take care everybody. Thank you for watching the video. And enjoy your alchemizing.